Tonight, the plant, it's called cannabis. Now, you might know it as hemp or as marijuana, a plant that in the United States is a Schedule I drug. What does that mean? It means it's highly addictive, and more importantly, that it has no medicinal value at all. And that's not true. Tonight, I'm going to introduce you to a boy whose life is being saved every day by cannabis. And because his mother is trying to save him, she is a criminal.
When he gets happy, he gets to
Katie Harrison loves her little guy, Hawk.
Hi. We saw it. We saw it.
At 3 years old, life for Hawk is very hard. When he was just weeks old, he had a brain hemorrhage, followed by a seizure, and that led to a blood clot disorder, a feeding tube, and vision impairment. As I said, life is hard.
And you can see in his face change and recognize he's about to take it.
But Hawk's life has been getting better, easier in fact, thanks to CBD oil.
It's not his very favorite thing to taste.
That Hawk has been taking 3 times a day for months. It started when Katie traveled to California to see what cannabis oil could do for her son.
And we saw just instantly a huge difference in the light behind his eyes, his awareness of what else was in the room. It was like the world sort of went from his world being here to his world kind of being maybe here, and he could see other people, and he was aware that we were somewhere different.
For Katie, cannabis oil is a miracle, one that isn't based on faith, but in science.
Our doctor came into the room, and he just looked at me, and you can't read a neurologist's face because they're so, sort of stoic. That's a good word for it. He said, well, I'll tell you this. He said, the brain waves have calmed down. He said, even the background waves have calmed down. There's no more hard spikes, which are called hypsarrhythmia. He said, I would consider this 1,000 times better. And he just looked at me and said, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Pull it up into a syringe, and he just gets 0.02 3 times a day.
There's just one problem with doing it. For thousands of parents in Georgia, access to that miracle is a crime. Cannabis oil comes from cannabis plants, plants we know by the names hemp and marijuana.
You're a criminal right now. And even though this oil is in some ways, well, not even in some ways, it's saving your son's life. And yet, every time you give this oil to him, you're committing a crime.
For sure.
Makes no sense.
None at all.
But a bill in the Georgia House was aimed this year at making sense of it. That bill would have done several things. First of all, it would have expanded the number of conditions that can be treated with cannabis oil. It would have also allowed more THC, the chemical in cannabis that can get you high, to be incorporated into the medicine. But the THCA, the acidic form of THC that Hawk takes, doesn't get you high.
That's something that Hawk takes, so that would help us.
And this bill, by the way, it would have allowed cannabis oil to be cultivated right here in Georgia. But while making its way through the Georgia House, the bill was stripped down completely.
So how insane is it that you can access it here, but you're not allowed to cultivate it or grow it here?
And it's just such a tiny piece of legislation when you do that, when you limit it so much, when you could be helping so much more. It seems like another cowardly act.
For Katie, her hope now resides in stories like these. Stories that explain to people that CBD oil isn't kids smoking marijuana, that the oil is transforming children with epilepsy and Crohn's disease, and adults with cancers and PTSD.
So do you think this is an education battle more than anything else? It's just helping people to understand what you're doing and the effect it's having.
You sort of see their face change, and you sort of, oh, okay, well, when you explain it that way, or when you really break it down, or when I understand it better now, then they're more for it.
So where does Katie get that CBD oil? Well, as I mentioned in the story, she traveled to California, worked with doctors, researched, and she orders online. But that's also a big concern because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of products online that are labeled CBD. Some are real, some may not be. And in desperation, families who do not have access to means to travel can simply order something, not really knowing what they're giving their child. Katie says as long as the state of Georgia continues to criminalize cannabis oil and restrict access, they're forcing families into these very difficult situations.